Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS acronym makes everything a lot nicer to interact with. Everything from homes to technology to pieces of design, furniture, and even cars. And modern cars have a habit of trying to make everything more innovative and as a result, making everything more complicated. But not the Civic. This is the latest Honda Civic Hybrid, and I think Honda have created the best hybrid hatchback for under $50,000. And while I think it's nearly perfect, it does have one big flaw. But first, let's talk about why keeping the new Honda Civic Hybrid simple makes it so good. First, I think you'd be stupid not to visit ProductReview.com.au before you buy your next car, because there you can search up the make and model of the car you want to buy, and there you can see what owners thought of their car that they actually live with, because they've left a review of the car that you're about to buy. And you can also check out reviews from me about new cars like the new Honda Civic Hybrid. First off, Honda's kept it nice and simple with the key fob. This is going to take up no space in your pocket because it's so tiny, and it only has two options. You can unlock and lock your car from here, or you can just keep it in your pocket and use the keyless entry and start that comes with this car. You then have the design. It's very simple. There's no necessary spoilers. There's no weird designs going on. This is a very basic car, and it's also a very practical one because it has a giant liftback hatchback, making putting things in the back very easy. Now you have over 400 liters of boot space back here, making putting big suitcases in the back a non-issue. And you can also fold up the boot floor to create some cargo dividers, which is quite useful. And you have a tiny bit of underfloor storage if you need it. And you also have a very simple cargo cover which pulls across from left to right. And also you can just roll it away like that if you don't want to use it. You don't have a big clunky piece that you have to look after like you have in some other cars. Now back seats are pretty regular. You can fit two adults very comfortably. You have two USB-C ports and two air vents in the back. And there's an armrest with cup holders in it if you need to use it. And Honda have kept it most simple when you're going to be spending most of your time, which is behind the driver's seat of the Civic Hybrid. Now, if you have champagne tastes when it comes to the build quality and attention to detail in your car, but you're running on a beer budget and you don't want to pay the high cost and high running costs of cars that get this level of construction and attention to detail, then look no further than the Honda Civic Hybrid. It's a delight to use everything in this car, and it's definitely got the best interior quality of anything under $50,000 in my opinion in the new car market. And I think it punches above its weight towards $100,000, and you could even say some of these buttons are better than the ones you'd find in cars that cost over $100,000. Now, what makes the Honda Civic Hybrid special is its hybrid powertrain. It has a 4-cylinder naturally aspirated motor which uses VTEC, which we love about Honda's motors. These things are known to be dead reliable. It's paired up to a battery, meaning that the combined power output is 135 kilowatts and 310 newton meters of torque, which means that you get instant torque off the line. All that sounds very complicated, but it's very simple to use and drive, and you don't have to think about it, leaving the car to do all the thinking for you, which is how you should do a modern car. You should make it easy to interact with and let all the complicated things be handled behind the scenes rather than making it complicated to interact with. And what I love is that even though this is a complicated powertrain, Honda allows you to fill this up with the cheapest fuel you'll find at the pump, which is 91 RON at the fuel stations here in Australia, meaning that running costs should be pretty low. And the hybrid system actually works. I've been averaging around 4.5 liters per 100 kilometers while driving this car, which is very low and very conservative for a hatchback. And another thing I love about this car is that even though it's got a complicated powertrain, it's only going to cost you under $1,000 to service this thing across 5 different services or over 5 years, making this one of the cheapest cars to own and run in the country. The only problem is that this base model will cost you $49,900 drive away. And so if you just want a hybrid hatchback, you can buy a Toyota Corolla Hybrid for less money, which competes with this. But I can tell you right now that the Honda Civic is better built and better to drive. The big difference between the Honda Civic Hybrid and other hybrids below $50,000 is the fact that this thing drives extremely well. The steering is quite precise, but it doesn't demand a whole bunch of feedback. It's nice and light while offering a bit of feedback to let you know what's going on the road. So I really like the steering feel. The suspension is really plush and soft, but it also has a firmness that feels like you're not going to be lounging around a corner. It feels like when I hit a corner like this one, for example, I can use the regen braking to slow down a bit without touching the brake and feeding energy back into that battery and tackle it with a bit of speed without upsetting the ride of the cabin because my car isn't tilting all over the place. So I really like that. And it also means you can have those nicer big alloy wheels without sacrificing too much of the suspension and comfort. I also love the fuel consumption in this thing. It's been sipping fuel at around 4.5 to 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers, which is ace. And that is great if you're looking for a car that is going to be very good on fuel. It's also very quiet. As you can hear, I can pretty much whisper in here because all I'm hearing is a little bit of road noise, but there's actually a decent amount of sound deadening in here that this car isn't booming with road noise. Instead, the road is a distant sound and I'm getting a nice quiet ride, especially for the fact that this thing drives off the battery for most of the driving experience. And it only really kicks in the engine when you're going at more highway speeds or you're sort of taking off a bit more aggressively from the lights. So I found it to be a very pleasurable driving experience. The braking is also nice and soft and the car doesn't pitch aggressively forwards and backwards, so I can apply the brakes nice and gently and it just glides to a stop, which sounds trivial, but some hybrids and some lightweight hatchbacks have a tendency to pitch aggressively forwards when they're using regen braking and regular brakes. And the visibility out of this thing is great. Although this only has one backup camera, it doesn't have a 360-degree parking camera system for around $50,000, which I think is a little bit subpar. And overall, the safety systems are really good. I've got lane departure warning and assist, but I don't have any nagging speed chimes, which I think is a major plus. Now, the only downside is it's a little boring. I'll be honest, it's not the most engaging drive, it's not the most thrilling, and if you were dreaming of getting a Honda Civic Type R but bought this instead because it looks kind of similar and it's going to be cheaper to run, unfortunately it just feels like a very numb driving experience. But if you just want a nice to drive hybrid car, it's hard to beat this. Now, if this car is so great, what is its biggest flaw? Well, it's Honda's no negotiation pricing strategy that they've implemented across all the dealerships. Now, that pricing strategy works if you want to keep the value of your cars nice and high. But the thing with a Honda Civic Hybrid is that it appeals to people like you who are looking for a car that is cheap to own and run. And that also means you probably want to buy it for less money than it should cost you. And so if you don't let people have a nice win in the dealership by saving a few thousand or a few $100s, they're probably going to be more inclined to sacrifice on things like interior quality and the driving experience, all in the name of getting a better deal on the drive-away price for a car that also would return similar fuel economy figures and would be around the same price to service and own. And at the end of the day, that means less people are going to be buying the new Honda Civic Hybrid, and that means there's going to be less people out there telling others how good it drives and how nice it is to live with, and there are going to be more people who are going to be driving something like a Toyota Corolla Hybrid, having never driven one of these, telling other people how good it is to live with and drive, and more people are going to listen to the people who have been driving the more popular car. Which is a shame, because by keeping the complicated things out of sight and making every interaction with this car nice and simple, while keeping the attention to detail nice and high and making this thing a pleasure to drive, Honda have easily created the best hybrid hatchback for under $50,000.